This is Dead Space, one of my all-time favorite horror franchises that surprisingly only had 2 games. We don't acknowledge that one. With the remake coming up early next year, I decided to go back and finish what 14-year-old me couldn't do. Impossible difficulty. Compared to the sequel, this mode isn't that bad. Yeah, you do far less damage, and you find very little ammo and resources. But I am no ordinary engineer, because there's a method to this madness. The easiest way to counter that limited resources is to, well, limit your weapons, of course. Now, you might be thinking, Matt, you want to use less weapons on the hardest difficulty? And the answer to that, my friend, is yeah. See, the plasma cutter that you start the game off with is no ordinary pizza cutter. This bad boy is your necromorph cutter. This thing can shoot, it can chop, it can... well, that's mostly it. But this thing will carry us to the end. Now, with all that said and done, let's get into the game. We start off traveling the solar system, listening to a pre-recorded video of our girlfriend, Nicole. But little did we know, she was the least of our worries. Okay, you didn't give me a chance. We are on our way heading to the Ishimura to fix their ship, then suddenly...
Gravity tethers engaged. Automatic docking procedures a go.
After a very gentle landing, we head inside and log into the security system for a very warm welcome.
I don't know. Something's in the room with us.
Where is it?
Jesus! Open fire! Open fire! Bring up power!
Come on. Got it.
Isaac, get the hell out of there!
I'm running! Open! Close! Wooga wooga wooga. After running like our dad was about to beat us with the belt, we finally get to safety and find the holy grail, the plasma cutter. Now this gun is going to be our bread and butter throughout the entire game. Well, of course there's also the stasis and kinesis as well. Now this was the first hurdle that we had to conquer, the first batch of enemies. Now normally in horror games, you first aim for the head, shoot, and continue on. But here in Dead Space, they flipped the script. Shooting enemies in the head does nothing. You must dismember enemies to kill them. Some enemies can get their heads taken off and still live on until you take several limbs of theirs off, just like Sid from Toy Story. Now the reason this first batch of enemies was so hard was my biggest concern for the entire run, the lack of ammo. After several attempts, we managed to run by everyone with our tail tucked between our legs and carry onward. We managed to fix the tram system so Hammond and Kendra can get back onto our ship and peace out of here. But things didn't go as planned. But it's like my dad always said, you gotta tighten up your space boots when times get tough. Going on to Chapter 2, it's not too bad in retrospect. However, this is where we get introduced to 2 of the most annoying enemies in this entire playthrough, the Swarmers and the Infector. The Swarmers are little parasites that will drain Isaac's health so fast Obamacare can't even help him. No, not these. Okay, just run into him. Hit him off. Come on. Oh my god. You take like all my health. Holy shit. As for the Infector, this guy can make your day living hell. Only thing that can really stop the Infector is to walk around and curb stomp every single body we walk by. Other than that, Chapter 2 is a breeze and we continue on. Chapter 3 starts off with a quick trolley ride that has a welcoming party on the other side. After signing autographs for all my fans, We find a workbench and continue on leveling up our plasma cutter even further. Now, there's one section that I remember coming up that I was dreading. We get trapped into a very small room where enemies can enter at any spot, and we can easily get outnumbered. So I did the only thing I could think of. Sit in the corner and pray that I can keep them under control. One more. Wasn't bad at all. The only other memorable part of this chapter is the 0G section where you have to outrun the giant machine in the middle. Nothing too bad, you just have to make sure you time your run so that you can get into safety. Go! Chapter 4 opens up with one of the scariest looking enemies I remember as a kid, the Brute. The Brute can be very intimidating to people on their first time around. It takes almost no damage if you hit its body, super fast, and very small weak points. And of course, one hit can end your whole run. It's a one hit? A little while later, we come across a turret section which is very less than ideal. The turret can overheat, asteroids are random every single time, and the aiming is very slow. Can't like... That's the best I've ever done. Holy sh**.
Nice shooting, Isaac. Auto targeting is now online and clearing a path.
73.
Clear.
But thankfully, we get it on the first try and we move on. Chapter 5 introduces us to the version of Mr. X. Chapter 5 introduces us to their version of Mr. X. He's unkillable and chases you throughout this whole chapter. The only way to not become his next victim is to shoot his limbs and stasis him. That's the only way to slow him down. Why? Fuck. Fuck. The strategy I used was to shoot off both of his legs, and then while he was on the ground, stasis him to increase the amount of time it takes to regen his body.
Someone keeps shutting down the door protocol. I bypassed the lock. Go!
After creating a poison to kill the hunter, we trap him in a chamber to have him hauled off to make sure he gets his vaccines. Chapter 6. We encountered Hammond and are tasked with clearing out the Weezers. No, not the band. Every time you find one of the Weezers, your O2 indicator goes off and you have to kill them before you suffocate to death. After clearing out all the Weezers, not you. Ugh. Now, once you clear out all the Weezers, you encounter one of the tankiest bosses this whole run. I call it the Giant Butthole. Now, this boss isn't difficult at all, but it takes so many bullets that I almost go through my entire stash of ammo. We're back to this. Oh my god. Thankfully, we wipe it clean and are able to continue on. Chapter 7 is not very memorable. Mostly, we just had to put an SOS beacon on a little piece of asteroid. It's not too bad. It's just, for some reason, I just kept getting stuck on the rotating part on the asteroid, and I just kept dying to it. Now, I just... Yo, Aunt Jemima, how you doing? I'm dead. Other than that, nothing too crazy or difficult. Now, Chapter 8 is where I was really on the edge of my seat. In this chapter, we have to first fix our comms to be able to talk to our rescue ship. Now, once we do that, we find out that there is a huge boss that is jamming our signal, and we are tasked to clearing it out. The downside is that we have to use turrets to kill it. So now take everything bad about the first turret section, but add a boss with several arms that are constantly throwing things at random. Just to show you how crazy this section is, I beat the boss with 4 health. 4 health. Wow, 4%. In Chapter 9, we get onto the ship only to find out that they're actually not here to save us anymore. They're here to kill us. We are introduced to a new type of enemy that reminds me of that little crack kid who gets hit in the head with a basketball. These necromorphs are very fast and dangerous. Only solution to killing these guys is to stasis them and then go for the limbs. Okay. After navigating through the ship, we recover Core and run into Hammond. Hammond suddenly thinks that he has main character energy and confronts a brute. Little did he know, he was just a disposable side character.
Get that corner tunnel! Don't wait for me! Oh, fuck me!
Oh! Well, don't play with your food. Holy shit. Okay, there's one. Oh! Holy shit. In Chapter 10, we meet up with Dr. Kyne with the Core and are on our way to getting out of here. On our way to meeting Kyne, we run into Chalice Mercer. I haven't mentioned him much until now, so let me catch you up. Mercer was a scientist on the Ishimura, and when the Necromorphs overran the ship, he kind of became obsessed with them. He actually believes that becoming a necromorph is the next step in human evolution. Now, let's get back on track.
They are ready. Take them. Embrace them.
Mercer gets sick of us, yada yada yada, and our beloved Hunter shows back up after getting his vaccine shots in Chapter 5. Please hurry. After shooting his limbs off and freezing him behind the shuttle, we turn the power on and he is officially retired and no more. Where's the big boy? There he is. Okay, run over. Run over. Yeah, dude, 5 months. Got him. After showing Mercer that we are smarter than the necromorphs, he decided to press F to pay respects and rage quits.
Right. Many have gone before us, and now it's time for us to take the voyage together. Transcend death. The future take its course. Join me as I gaze upon the face of God.
Chapter 11 and 12 are basically escorting the marker around with combat in between. This is where I started having the most trouble. In Chapter 11, we are in the process of traversing the marker around and we just kept getting overwhelmed by necromorphs. When they weren't the issue, the giant tentacles were. After finally getting the marker loaded up on the ship, we come to the big twist of the game. Kendra reveals herself as a double agent and is actually working with the government to find the marker.
Wait, Amelia, where are you going?
No! Finally, we arrive at the final chapter. Now this is the final test to your endurance. Enemies are constantly showing up. You go through all your ammo, stasis, everything. There can't be much more. That has to be it. After somehow managing to survive the beating from all sides, we encountered the next obstacle, the Bridge of Death. This part was a nightmare. While you are pulling the marker, you have several tentacles to your left, and at the same time, you have an infinite amount of enemies spawning behind you. I died here several times not knowing what I was supposed to be doing. After several attempts, we ended up just getting lucky and sprinting right through it. If you keep pace, the tentacles actually don't even hit you, and you have nothing to worry about. Just go. Holy shit. Finally, here we are, the final boss. Everything comes down to this, the hive mind. When starting the final boss, you are trapped into a very confined space. The only way to damage the hive mind is to shoot the giant weak spots on its face, or mouth, or whatever it is. The difficult part comes when it starts throwing the thick boys at you, because when those things die, it spawns the swarmers. They actually lock you into place. It's a free guaranteed hit by the tentacle. After successfully bursting a couple of those weak spots, you start phase 2 where you get lifted into the air. Now this is where I panicked. While being upside down, you have a very small amount of time to destroy the last couple weak spots. I can't hit him. Oh, what made the monster so big? This is like the hive mind to the marker. After hitting the last weak spot, the game is officially over. Okay. Come on. Is it done? Is it dead? Please. Is it dead? I think it's dead. I think it's dead. Ugly son of a... All in all, Dead Space 1 wasn't too complicated or difficult on Impossible mode. The entire run took just about 7 hours, and we finally unlocked the epic Tier 3 Engineer achievement after 14 years. You can easily tell that after this game, they realized that they were just way too easy on us, and they drastically ramped up the difficulty. Lastly, if you stayed all the way to the end of the video, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I did this entire run live over at my Twitch, over at twitch.tv/iosmatthew. I plan on going through the entire Dead Space series with the remake right over the horizon. Until then, see you guys next time. The game is done.